listening to Give God 90, where we're not afraid of the tough biblical questions, because we will dig through the language, the culture, and the history to find the truth revealed in the words of our Creator.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for spending some time with us today. I'm getting smiles for some reason.
Hello, everyone.
If you're new here, we do have fun while we're doing this. Sometimes more fun than we should have, but we do. And we appreciate all the new folks and all the people that have been with us for a while.
Yes.
If you haven't been to Give God 90 lately, give it check it out, see what's there. If you like what you hear, tell somebody, share it, do all the things that you usually would do to encourage it. You know how the analytics stuff,
all
how that stuff works.
We'll take it.
I'm going to get right into things today because it's got a lot to talk about. The news today is filled with all kinds of weird stuff. And one of the things yesterday, of course, centered on the death of Henry Kissinger. One of the things he's noted for, of course, is being a great diplomat. Well, behind the scenes might be a different story. Apparently, he was quite foreboding. Some people credit him with coining the phrase, if you control the food, you control the people. Well, he didn't actually come up with that. That had been used for a while. But he did say it in his official capacity as part of his governmental duties. So, I'm not saying he's good or bad. I'm just saying that was what the news had. And if you look behind the scenes of any politician, you're going to find things. Another story that came up, and I shouldn't chuckle at this, but I do, just because of the context and the content. Father Daniel Rehill, who serves as the exorcist of the Diocese of Nashville, claims that Taylor Swift has incorporated elements of witchcraft into her performances. Now, this may or may not be intentional on her part. I don't know. I don't know Taylor Swift. Don't know what kind of a person she is personally or in her private life. But the priest claims that by doing the type of performances she does, it summons demons. Isn't that interesting? It's amazing what you can learn when you read the news. Another article, specifically for the United States, it details that over 200 FBI agents were part of the January 6th debacle in Washington, D.C., and these agents were there to entice the crowd into illegal activity. The world we live in today, right? Now, the thing that all of these have, even though it's different, they're different types of stories, they all display some form or some type of evil. From a diplomat threatening food, entertainers using witchcraft, to government agents acting or enticing, I should say, illegal activity. Now, some people would, they read these things and they get concerned, as we all should be, for various reasons. And, they say, well, there's just no hope left for this world. Well, that ship has sailed a very long time ago in a well-known garden we call Eden. When the world, as it was intended to be, changed dramatically. And we could say there's no hope for this world because we're going to get a new one. And it's going to be put back the way this one was intended, eventually. Many who place their trust in the God of Abraham throughout the millennia have often thought, oh, things just they just possibly can't get any worse than they are right now. Guess what? They always have. They always have gotten worse. And the result is what we see today. And today people are saying, oh, it can't get any worse. Well, hold on to your hats, folks. It's about to. What we see today is the result of evil acts by people who have either rejected the Creator or they followed some unholy spirit that has led them to act as an accomplice of evil, whether they know it or whether they didn't know it at the time. But there is good news. There is hope. There's always been hope, right? In Genesis 6:8, Noah found favor, or he found grace in the eyes of the Creator. And while we're not exactly told why Abraham was chosen, we know that he was called out of the land of his father to begin a nation. So there's always been that last remnant of hope, the small groups of people, even if it's just one person who can influence others. And that brings us to a very interesting narrative that we should all be familiar with, or we're all likely familiar with, but at the same time, we may be looking at this from a different perspective than what we're going to look at today. So go ahead and read that passage.
In the days when the judges ruled, there was a famine in the land, and a certain man from Bethlehem in Judah, with his wife and 2 sons, went to reside in the land of Moab. The man's name was Elimelech. His wife's name was Naomi, and names of his 2 sons were Mahlon and Chilion. And they were
Yeah, close enough.
Ephrathites from Bethlehem in Judah, and they entered into the land of Moab and settled there. Then Naomi's husband Elimelech died, and she was left with her 2 sons, who took Moabite women as their wives. One's name was Zipporah, and the other was named Ruth. And after they had lived in Moab about 10 years, both Mahlon and Chilion also died, and Naomi was left without her 2 sons and without her husband. When Naomi heard in Moab that the Lord had attended to his people by providing them with food, she and her daughter-in-laws prepared to leave the land of Moab. Accompanied by her 2 daughter-in-laws, she left the place where she had been living and set out on the road leading back to the land of Judah. Then Naomi said to her 2 daughter-in-laws, "Go back, each of you, to your mother's home. May the Lord show you loving devotion, as you have shown your dead and to me. May the Lord enable each of you to find rest in the home of your new husband." And she kissed them as they wept aloud and said, "Surely we will return with you to your people." But Naomi replied, "Return home, my daughters. Why would you go with me? Are there still sons in my womb to become your husbands? Return home, my daughters. Go on, for I am too old to have another husband. Even if I thought there was hope for me to have a husband tonight and to bear sons, would you wait for them to grow up? Would you refrain from having husbands? No, my daughters, it grieves me very much for your sakes that the hand of the Lord has gone out against me." Again they wept out loud, and Zipporah kissed her mother-in-law goodbye, but Ruth clung to her. "Look," said Naomi, "your sister-in-law has gone back to her people and her gods. Follow her back home." But Ruth replied, "Do not urge me to leave you or to turn from following you. For wherever you go, I will go. Wherever you live, I will live. Your people will be my people, and your God will be my God. Where you die, I will die, and there I will be buried. May the Lord punish me, and ever so severely, if anything but death separates you and me." Then Naomi saw that Ruth was determined to go with her. She stopped trying to persuade her. Ruth chapter 1, verses 1 through 18.
Now, as I said, that's a very familiar story, but the lesson that's in this is very important. In fact, there's lots of lessons in this, but we're just going to look at this from an interesting perspective. Naomi had lost her husband and her sons. They were from the tribe of Ephraim. That's why they're Ephraimites. Yeah, you should see the look I'm getting now. I'm glad we're not on live anymore, or Facebook, or wherever it was. But, you know, she was in a land that was not kind to widows and not kind to the fatherless. But she remembered the Creator and praised him even while she was living among the pagans. Now, Orpah was willing to return to her own mother's home, but Ruth was not. And many people miss asking the question, what was it that would cause Ruth to have such a strong desire to stay with Naomi and go to a place that she wasn't at all familiar with? It was well known that the Israelites and Moabites had a tumultuous relationship, if you remember Balaam. Not going down that rabbit trail tonight. I've been there before. There'd been a famine in the land, but that was past, and apparently everyone had heard how the Creator had taken care of his people who lived there. Now, also, Ruth had watched Naomi's example of how she lived, and we could speculate that she witnessed a woman of deep devotion, or who had deep devotion to the Creator. Notice what Ruth says. Your people will be my people, your God will be my God. Where you die, I die, and I will be buried. May the Lord punish me. May Jehovah punish me severely if anything but death separates us. This is a good indication that Ruth had already chosen to accept the God of Naomi. But wait, there's more. Why did she do that? What was it? What had happened? Ruth did not have the deep devotion to the Moabite god that she was familiar with, but with the example that Naomi gave, she observed in Naomi something she wanted, and it changed her profoundly. Now, while most people are just willing to accept, she was just loyal to Naomi, now Ruth was willing to sacrifice everything she knew for something that she had witnessed. She was willing to give up not only the life she knew, but possibly her physical life to go to the land of Israel, where she knew she would probably be treated badly, but she had a desire to serve the Creator. And the only way she knew him was through the witness of Naomi. Ruth was willing to change everything. She was willing to change her life to serve a God who cared for his people. She was willing to serve a God who displayed love and grace and mercy. She was willing to change in order to have something she had never had before, a relationship with the Creator of the universe. She was willing to change because one woman lived the way she was designed to live, and did the best that she could, surrounded by the circumstances that she was in. Now, what might happen today, in today's world, in today's society, in the world we find ourselves in now, if everybody who considers themselves to follow the creator of the universe would be the same type of witness that Naomi was for Ruth? Do you think the world would change? You know, it wasn't Naomi's preaching that changed Ruth. It wasn't, it wasn't being entertained by a praise band. That's kind of obvious. That didn't change Ruth. But it was Naomi's very life that changed Ruth. There was no evangelizing. They didn't go knock on doors and say, "Can I tell you about Jesus?" That's not what Naomi was about. There was no regular attendance at a church or a synagogue. They lived in the land of Moab. It's the way that Naomi lived her everyday, normal life. The things that she went about and did, just the way she did them. What can happen? What could happen if you lived your life the way you're designed to live it every day? There's an interesting verse in Isaiah 11:11. On that day, Jehovah will extend his hand a second time to recover the remnant of his people from Assyria, from Egypt, from Pathros, from Cush, from Elam, and from Shinar, and from Hamath, and from the islands of the sea. In other words, everywhere at that time. Every known place at that time. The Almighty himself will reach out to rescue his people. By the way, the word recover here in the original Hebrew does not actually mean save. It actually means to acquire. And if you think about that for a moment, our Creator will reach down to acquire you if you are willing to change. And that particular word, acquire, can also mean to possess. He will possess you if you're willing to change. If you're willing to be the same type of witness and live your life like Naomi did, even in a land surrounded by pagans, for lack of a better description, she did the best she could, the best she knew how. And what happened? Ruth was profoundly changed. And when Ruth was profoundly changed, who do you think reached down to possess her? Not demon possession either. The Almighty himself reached down to acquire her, to hold on to her. You have that same ability. If you live the way you're designed to live, you have the ability to show someone else the path that allows them to be a possession of the Creator, just like Naomi did for Ruth. And if you'll do that, you have the ability to change the world, one person at a time. You have the ability to make a difference in who will inherit the new earth, who will be there. You have the ability, as well, quite simply, as just a living example, to make the world a better place today because you choose to follow the Creator's instructions and live the way he designed you to live. Yes, you're going to get persecuted. Some people are going to hate you for that. And that's okay, because those who reject the Creator have already made their choice, and he will deal with them his way. This really isn't about somebody else. This is about you. This is about your relationship with him. This is about your witness for him. This is about how you represent him every day. And it's also about you being an example to someone else, just like Naomi was an example to Ruth. So what are you going to do with your opportunity? Now that you know it's possible, now that you know how important it is, what will you do with your opportunity? Will you choose to live the way your Creator designed you to live, or are you going to hide somewhere? Maybe a underground bunker. I hear a lot about, this modern church is going to have to go underground. Why? Did Naomi, living in a land where she was surrounded by people that had been their enemy, did she hide? Apparently not. She was a widow. What was she going to do? Her sons had died. She had nobody to take care of her. What was she going to do? To use a biblical line, she let her light shine, right? Are you going to put a shade over your light? And then, sit back and say, the world's going to hell in a handbasket. Is that what you're willing to do? Or are you willing not to be part of what the world has to offer? To be different, to be set apart. Maybe you should take a few minutes and think about who is in your circle of friends, who's in your family, who's your Ruth. Are you willing to be the example that they need so that they can choose to follow the Creator? Or are you willing to be afraid? It's your choice. I can think of a lot of people I know who aren't. And I can think of a lot of people I know who are. But when you think about your responsibility to others, what will you do? Are you going to hide? Or are you going to take the shade off your light and let it shine? That's your choice. But the one thing you have to remember is everybody around you is watching you for the example. What's it going to look like? Hopefully, you'll choose to live the way you're designed to live and not be afraid of it. Something else to think about as we look at our world today. And until Monday, we wish you many, many blessings, everyone.